I died at my own engagement party, not literally. But the woman I was died there, buried under the weight of humiliation and betrayal. When I came back, reborn into my life 3 months before that fateful night, I made a vow to myself. This time, I wouldn't be the one destroyed by secrets. My name is Ava Chen. In my first life, I spent 32 years being the responsible one, the good daughter, the perfect fiancée. My younger sister, May, was always the wild card. Beautiful, impulsive, daddy's favorite. We looked alike, but that's where the similarities ended. I never suspected my sister and my fiancé were sleeping together until I caught them whispering at my engagement party. Even then, I didn't want to believe it. But the truth has a way of demanding to be seen. This time around, I've changed the script. I know exactly what day they started their affair, February 12th, where they meet, the Oceanside Hotel, room 505, and what lies they tell to cover their tracks. I know my father favors my sister because I remind him too much of our mother, who abandoned us. I know my fiancé, James, only proposed because his family business needs the connections my family provides. Most importantly, I know the seating arrangement at our engagement party is the key to everything. In my first life, I died of shame when their affair was accidentally exposed during a toast. But in this life, there will be no accidents, just careful planning. When May casually suggested we swap name cards at the party so she could sit near her friend Daniel, I smiled and said yes. What my sister doesn't realize is that I've already rearranged the entire seating chart. And by the end of tonight, everyone will know exactly who's been loyal and who's been lying. This isn't a story about revenge, it's about rebirth. And tonight, as I watch my sister take my seat beside James, I feel something I never felt in my previous life, a sense of power. Let the party begin. I wake up gasping, my body drenched in cold sweat. The clock on my nightstand reads 6:03 a.m., February 1st, exactly 3 months before my engagement party, 3 months before my life fell apart the first time. I sit up, hands trembling as I touch my face, my arms, making sure this is real. The bedroom is familiar cream walls, minimalist furniture, the framed photos of James and me on the dresser. My apartment before I moved in with him. Oh my God, I whisper to the empty room. I'm back. The last thing I remember from my previous life was stumbling out of the party venue, mascara streaking down my face, my father's disappointed expression, my sister's tearful apologies, and James's pathetic excuses echoing in my ears. I'd driven away, sobbing so hard I could barely see the road. Then headlights, a blaring horn, the sickening crunch of metal, and now I'm here, 3 months earlier, given a second chance. I swing my legs over the side of the bed and walk to the bathroom on unsteady legs. The woman in the mirror looks younger than I remember. No stress lines around her eyes yet. No knowledge of what her fiancé and sister are about to do to her. My phone buzzes on the nightstand. A text from James. Morning, beautiful. Don't forget dinner with my parents tonight. Love you. I want to throw the phone against the wall, but I force myself to type back. Can't wait. Love you too. The lies come easily, even now. According to my memories, James and May haven't started their affair yet. That comes 11 days from now, when James will claim to be working late but actually meet my sister at a bar downtown. In my previous life, I never questioned his excuses, never suspected anything until it was too late. I shower and dress mechanically, my mind racing with possibilities. Should I confront them before they even start? Break up with James now? Tell my sister I know what she's planning? No, that wouldn't be enough. They'd deny everything, make me sound paranoid. My father would take May's side, as always. James would spin some story about how I'm having pre-wedding jitters. If I want justice this time around, I need evidence. I need them to expose themselves. I need a plan. My phone rings as I'm putting on makeup. May's name flashes on the screen. Hey, sis, she says when I answer, her voice bright and innocent. Want to grab lunch today? I need your opinion on a guy I've been seeing. The irony makes me want to laugh hysterically. In my first life, we'd had this exact lunch. She'd told me about some banker named Daniel, and I'd given her relationship advice like a supportive big sister. All while she was preparing to betray me. Sure, I say, keeping my voice neutral. The usual place at noon? Perfect, you're the best, Ava. I hang up and stare at my reflection again. The woman looking back at me has a strange glint in her eye now. You have no idea what's coming, May. The cafe is crowded with the lunch rush when I arrive. May is already there, waving enthusiastically from a corner table. My sister is objectively beautiful. Long black hair, perfect skin. The kind of smile that makes people stop and stare. We have the same almond-shaped eyes, but where mine are a boring brown, hers have flecks of gold. Dad always said she got the best of our mother's features. I ordered you an iced matcha, May says as I slide into the seat across from her. So, listen, I met this guy at Chloe's gallery opening. I let her ramble about Daniel the banker while I study her face. Does she know what she's going to do in 11 days? Is she already thinking about James that way? Or does the betrayal start as something spontaneous? Are you even listening? May waves her hand in front of my face. You look weird. Sorry. I take a sip of my drink. Just nervous about dinner with James's parents tonight. Don't be ridiculous. They adore you. She rolls her eyes. Margaret basically treats you like the daughter she never had. It's honestly annoying how perfect your relationship with your future in-laws is. If only she knew. Margaret and William Liu had been polite but distant after the scandal broke in my previous life. Their only son getting caught having an affair with his fiance's sister wasn't exactly the respectable family image they worked so hard to maintain. So anyway, Daniel wants to take me to this new restaurant on Friday, but I'm not sure if I should go. There's this other guy who's been texting me. May continues, oblivious to my thoughts. Which other guy? Oh, just someone I met at the gym. He's probably not serious boyfriend material. In my first life, I'd been so absorbed in wedding planning that I barely paid attention to May's revolving door of men. Now I wonder if she'd been deliberately overwhelming me with stories about her dating life to distract me from what was happening right under my nose. What about you and James? She asks, an innocent expression on her face. How's all the wedding planning going? Still set on the plaza for the reception? Actually, I've been thinking about changing the venue. What? But you've been talking about getting married at the plaza since we were kids. I shrug. People change. Dreams change. May looks genuinely confused. Does James know? He seemed really excited about the plaza when we were talking last week. My stomach tightens. When were you talking to James last week? Oh, when he stopped by Dad's to drop off those contract papers, I happened to be there. She waves dismissively. Anyway, if you change the venue now, won't you lose your deposit? Some things are worth losing. I hold her gaze a beat too long. A flicker of unease crosses her face, but it's gone so quickly I might have imagined it. Well, it's your wedding. She changes the subject. So about Daniel. I half listen as she returns to discussing her banker, my mind already plotting my next move. If memory serves, James has been working late on a special project for the past month. Tonight's dinner with his parents will be the first time I've seen them in weeks. In my previous life, I'd been the perfect future daughter-in-law, bringing Margaret her favorite dessert, asking William thoughtful questions about his business, never contradicting James when he embellished stories about our relationship. But this time will be different. This time, I'm going to plant the first seed of doubt. The Liu family home is a modernist mansion in the wealthiest part of the city, all glass and angles overlooking the ocean. As James drives us through the security gate, I feel a wave of déjà vu so strong it leaves me dizzy. You okay? James asks, placing a hand on my knee. You've been quiet all evening. I look at my fiancé, tall, classically handsome, the epitome of the successful young businessman in his tailored suit. I used to think his smile was genuine. Now, all I see is calculation behind those eyes. I'm fine, I say, just thinking about something May said at lunch. His hand twitches on my knee. Oh, what did your sister have to say? She mentioned you were at my father's office last week. James keeps his eyes on the road. Yeah, dropping off some papers for the merger. Did I forget to tell you? It was a quick in and out thing. No, you told me. I let the silence stretch uncomfortably. Funny that you and May had time to discuss our wedding venue, though. He parks in front of the house and turns to me, his expression perfectly confused. What? We barely talked. Maybe she mentioned the wedding and I said something in passing, but it wasn't a conversation. The James I knew in my previous life was an excellent liar. I'd believed every excuse, every late night at the office, every business trip. I won't make that mistake again. It doesn't matter, I say with a tight smile. Let's not keep your parents waiting. Margaret Liu greets us at the door, elegant as always in a silk blouse and tailored pants, her silver-streaked hair in a perfect bob. Ava, darling, and James, finally tearing yourself away from work. And we follow her into the dining room where William is already seated at the head of the table, checking emails on his phone. The prodigal son returns, William says without looking up. Your mother was beginning to think you'd moved into your office. James laughs. You taught me well, Dad. The Carlton merger is taking up all my time. The Carlton merger? I ask innocently. I thought that was finalized weeks ago. A beat of silence. The implementation phase, James corrects smoothly. Post-merger integration is the most critical period. William finally looks up from his phone, his gaze sharp. Actually, Harrison is handling the Carlton integration. You're working on the new Singapore expansion, aren't you? I take a sip of water to hide my smile. In my first life, I never caught these inconsistencies. I was too trusting, too absorbed in wedding details to notice the contradictions in James's stories. Right, the Singapore project is what's keeping me at the office, James says quickly, and Harrison consults me on Carlton occasionally. It all blends together. Margaret sweeps in from the kitchen with a platter of appetizers. Enough work talk. Ava, I found the most wonderful florist for the wedding. Japanese trained, specializes in minimalist arrangements. I've taken the liberty of making an appointment for us next week. This, too, is familiar. Margaret taking over wedding plans, making decisions without consulting me. In my previous life, I'd been pathetically grateful for her help, interpreting her controlling nature as acceptance. Thank you, Margaret, but I've actually decided to go with a different style, I say, something more colorful and unstructured. Margaret's smile freezes. But we discussed this. The clean lines of Ikebana would complement the plaza's architecture perfectly. That's assuming we still have the reception at the plaza, I say. James nearly chokes on his wine. What? Since when are we changing venues? I'm considering some options. I take another deliberate sip of water. I realized I've been making decisions based on what other people expect, not what I actually want. The table falls silent. In my first life, I never contradicted James or his mother, never asserted my own preferences. The Ava they knew was accommodating to a fault. William breaks the tension with a laugh. Well, it's your wedding, though I've already told half my board about the plaza, prestigious venue, good optics for the company. And there it is, the real reason for this marriage. Good optics. A strategic alliance between Liu International and my father's tech company. Old money joining new innovation. Speaking of the company, I say, Dad mentioned he saw you at the Oceanside Hotel last week, William. He was there for a conference and spotted you in the lobby. Another lie. My father hadn't seen William anywhere. But the Oceanside is where James and May will conduct their affair, and I want to see James's reaction to the name. His fork pauses halfway to his mouth, just for a fraction of a second. Most people wouldn't notice, but I'm watching for it. Must have been someone else, William says. I was in Chicago all last week. Oh, my mistake. I smile apologetically. Dad must have been confused. The rest of dinner passes in a blur of polite conversation and underlying tension. James keeps shooting me confused glances, clearly thrown by my uncharacteristic behavior. Margaret has gone cold, offended by my rejection of her wedding plans. Only William seems unaffected, dominating the conversation with stories about his recent business trips. On the drive home, James waits until we're halfway to my apartment before speaking. What was that about? What do you mean? You know exactly what I mean. Contradicting my mother, making up stories about my dad being at some hotel, questioning me about work in front of my parents? That's not like you, Ava. I turn to look out the passenger window. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think you do. Is this about the wedding? Are you stressed about the planning? Because if you want to change the venue from the plaza, we can discuss it, but blindsiding me in front of my parents wasn't the way to handle it, and his reasonable tone makes my blood boil. This is how he always operated, making me feel irrational when I raised legitimate concerns, positioning himself as the calm, logical one. I saw the text, James. The lie comes out before I can stop it. There are no texts to find yet. The affair hasn't started. But I need to see his reaction. His knuckles whiten on the steering wheel. What texts? On your phone, I know about you and May. The car swerves slightly before James regains control. Me and May? What are you talking about? His confusion seems genuine, but then again, he's always been a good actor. The text where you told her you couldn't wait to see her again, that you'd make up an excuse to get away from me. James pulls the car over abruptly and turns to face me. Ava, I have no idea what you're talking about. I barely speak to your sister except when we're all together. Check my phone if you don't believe me. He holds out his iPhone, face unlocked. Go ahead, look through everything. I take the phone knowing I won't find anything, not yet. But his willingness to hand it over tells me something important. Whatever's going to happen between them hasn't happened yet. Maybe it's not even on his radar, which means the betrayal might have originated with May. I scroll through his texts anyway, noting the names for future reference, before handing the phone back. I must have been mistaken. Mistaken? Ava, you just accused me of having some kind of inappropriate relationship with your sister. That's not a mistake, He runs a hand through his hair, genuinely distressed. Where is this coming from? Do you not trust me? I force tears into my eyes, playing the role he expects. I'm sorry, I've been so stressed lately, and May mentioned seeing you at Dad's, and I don't know what came over me. Forgive me? Relief washes over his face as he pulls me into an embrace. Of course. But promise me you'll talk to me next time you're feeling insecure instead of jumping to crazy conclusions, okay? I nod against his shoulder, inhaling his familiar cologne while my mind continues plotting. The affair hasn't started, but it will, and now I know something I didn't know in my previous life. James will be genuinely surprised when May makes her move, which means I need to be watching on February 12th to see exactly how my sister initiates their betrayal. February 12th arrives crisp and clear. In my previous life, this was an unremarkable Tuesday. I went to work, had lunch with a colleague, came home late to an empty apartment because James was working on the Carlton merger, and went to bed alone. Only in the aftermath of the engagement party disaster did I piece together the timeline and realize this was the night their affair began. This time, I call in sick to work and set up surveillance. James leaves for work at his usual time, 7:30 a.m., kissing me goodbye with promises to bring home soup for my cold. I wait an hour, then drive to the office building where my sister works as a marketing executive. I park across the street, baseball cap pulled low, large sunglasses hiding my face. At precisely 11:45 a.m., May emerges from the building. In my first life, she'd told me she was swamped with work this week. Another lie in the tapestry of deception they wove around me. She's dressed more provocatively than her usual work attire. A tight pencil skirt, stiletto heels, a silky blouse with one too many buttons undone. I follow her taxi at a discreet distance. Sure enough, it stops in front of James's office building downtown. My sister checks her reflection in a compact, applies fresh lipstick, and strides inside with purpose. My hands grip the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turn white. Even though I knew this was coming, seeing it unfold in real time sends a wave of nausea through me. I wait, stomach churning. 23 minutes later, they emerge together. James looks around furtively before guiding May to his car with a hand placed low on her back. The intimacy of the gesture makes me want to scream. They drive to a trendy lunch spot downtown, visible from the street, but private enough in a corner booth. Through the window, I watch them laugh, heads bent close together. At one point, May touches James's hand, letting her fingers linger. My phone buzzes with a text from James. Working through lunch on the Singapore project. We'll be home late tonight. Don't wait up. The same exact text he sent in my previous life. The text I'd accepted without question. I wait 3 hours in my car, alternating between rage and a strange, detached fascination. At 4:45 p.m., they leave the restaurant and drive to the Oceanside Hotel. James valeting the car while May waits, checking her phone casually as if she isn't about to sleep with her sister's fiancé. I don't follow them inside. I don't need to see more. Instead, I drive to my father's house, tears blurring my vision. Dad is surprised to see me. At 62, Kenneth Chen is still imposing, tall, stern, with salt and pepper hair, and the perpetual frown of a man who built a tech empire through sheer force of will. After Mom left when I was 12 and May was 9, he raised us with a combination of hired help, rigid expectations, and clear favoritism. Ava, aren't you supposed to be at work? He asks, barely looking up from his tablet. I needed to talk to you. I sit across from him in his home office, the space deliberately intimidating with its dark wood and wall of business awards. He sighs, setting the tablet aside. What is it? Problems with the wedding plans? No, I take a deep breath. I need to ask you something important. Do you remember, after Mom left, you promised May and me that you'd always be there for us? That we could count on you no matter what? A flicker of discomfort crosses his face. He hates talking about our mother. Of course, what's this about? If something happened, if someone hurt me badly, would you stand by me? Even if it meant going against someone you care about? Now he looks concerned. Has James done something? Has he hurt you? I shake my head. This is hypothetical. I just need to know where I stand with you. Where you stand? He frowns. You're my daughter. So is May, but we both know she's your favorite. Dad starts to deny it, but I cut him off. It's okay. I've made peace with it. Mom left because she fell in love with someone else, and I look just like her. Every time you look at me, you see her betrayal. But May looks like your side of the family. I'm not here to argue about it. I just need to know, hypothetically, if May did something to hurt me, would you still take her side automatically, or would you be fair? My father looks genuinely troubled now. Ava, what's going on between you and your sister? Nothing. Yet. I stand up. But when something does happen, I want you to remember this conversation. I want you to remember that I gave you a chance to promise me fairness. I leave him staring after me, confusion etched on his face. In my previous life, he'd immediately taken May's side when the affair came to light, comforting her as she cried crocodile tears, barely sparing me a glance as I fled the party in humiliation. This time, I've planted a seed of awareness. When the moment comes, he'll remember this conversation. I drive home and wait for James. He returns at 11:42 p.m., smelling of unfamiliar perfume poorly masked by breath mints and the travel-sized cologne he keeps in his glove compartment. Hey, he whispers, thinking I'm asleep on the couch. You should have gone to bed. I sit up slowly. I was worried about you. He has the decency to look guilty. The Singapore project is intense right now. Did you get my texts? I did. I smile sweetly. How was the Oceanside Hotel? His face goes blank with shock. What? Room 505. You and May looked very cozy going in together. James pales visibly. Ava, I can explain. No need. I stand up, surprisingly calm. In my previous life, discovering their betrayal had broken me. Now, having watched it unfold according to schedule, I feel only cold determination. I assume this was the first time, or have you been sleeping with my sister longer than I realize? It's not, we didn't. He runs his hands through his hair. May approached me at lunch. She said she needed to discuss something about your birthday surprise. The hotel was just to talk privately. Nothing happened. Don't insult my intelligence, I say quietly. You were there for hours. We were talking. She was upset about her ex, wanted advice because I'm the only one who really knows him. Then we had a few drinks at the hotel bar. Time got away from us. He reaches for me. Baby, you have to believe me. Nothing happened between us. In my first life, I might have believed him. Might have been so desperate to preserve my perfect life that I'd accept any explanation, no matter how flimsy. Okay, I say, stepping back from his touch. I believe you. Relief floods his face. You do? Sure, but I think we should postpone the engagement party, just until I can trust you again. Postpone? Panic flashes in his eyes. But the invitations are out. My parents have invited their entire social circle. Your father's business associates are flying in from overseas. Then I guess you have a choice to make. I move toward the bedroom. Either admit what really happened with May today, or stick to your story and watch our engagement fall apart. Ava, please. I'm going to bed now. You can sleep on the couch. I close the bedroom door behind me and lean against it, heart pounding. This confrontation never happened in my previous life. I'd been oblivious to their first encounter, accepting every lie James told me over the following weeks as their affair intensified. But now I've disrupted the timeline. James knows I suspect something, which means he and May will be more careful or they'll accelerate their plans. My phone buzzes with a text from May. Hey sis, you free for lunch tomorrow? Need your advice on something important. I smile grimly at the screen. In my previous life, this lunch was where May first planted the seed about changing the seating arrangements at the engagement party, a seemingly innocent suggestion that ultimately led to my public humiliation when she ended up seated next to James, their intimate body language exposing their affair to everyone during the champagne toast. Sure, I text back. Can't wait to hear what's on your mind. Game on, little sister. May is already on her second mimosa when I arrive at the upscale brunch spot the next day. Her eyes are slightly puffy. She's been crying, or at least wants me to think she has. Ava. She jumps up to hug me. Thank God you're here. I've made a terrible mistake. I slide into the booth across from her. What happened? She takes a shaky breath, twisting her napkin. I need to tell you something, and you have to promise not to hate me. For a moment, I'm stunned. Is she actually going to confess? In my previous life, she maintained the deception until the very end. I slept with Daniel's best friend, she blurts out. Ah, not a confession about James then. Just another manipulation. Daniel the banker? I clarify, playing along. She nods miserably. We were at this party. I'd had too much to drink, and it just happened. Now I don't know what to do. Should I tell Daniel, or is it better if he never finds out? In my first life, I'd spent an hour counseling her on honesty and relationships, completely unaware of the irony. This time, I see the conversation for what it is. May testing my views on infidelity, gauging whether I'm the type to forgive betrayal. I think secrets like that have a way of coming out eventually, I say carefully. Usually in the most damaging way possible. May's eyes widen slightly. So you think I should tell him, even if it would hurt him and probably end our relationship? I think people deserve to know the truth about who they're with. I hold her gaze. Don't you? She looks away first. Maybe, but Daniel and I aren't even serious yet. It's not like we're engaged or anything. Unlike James and me. Her mimosa glass pauses halfway to her mouth. Right. Obviously what you and James have is different. Is it? I take a sip of water. I've been wondering lately what I would do if James cheated on me. Especially if it was with someone close to me, like a friend. Or family. May chokes slightly on her drink. Why would you even think about something like that? James adores you. People surprise you. I shrug. Dad surprised Mom. She surprised him by leaving. You surprised everyone by dropping out of college to pursue marketing instead of following Dad into tech. Life is full of surprises. This is a weird conversation, May says, forcing a laugh. Can we get back to my Daniel crisis? Sure, but first, did you happen to see James yesterday? I was trying to reach him all afternoon, but he wasn't answering his phone. The question is casual, but I watch her face carefully. James? No, why would I have seen James? She's better at lying than I expected. No physical tells, no nervous tics. If I hadn't witnessed them together with my own eyes, I might believe her. Just wondering. He mentioned he might be stopping by Dad's office, and I know you sometimes have lunch with Dad. Oh. She relaxes slightly. No, I was stuck at work all day, back-to-back meetings. Another lie, I let it pass. So back to the seating chart for your engagement party, she says, smoothly changing the subject. I had this thought. What if we did something unconventional? Instead of the traditional family table, what if people sat wherever they wanted? Like grab a name card on the way in and pick your own seat. And there it is, the suggestion that destroyed me in my first life. Back then, I'd agreed immediately, thinking it was a fun, modern approach. I didn't realize May had already planned to swap our cards, ensuring she'd be seated next to James during the most photographed moment of the evening. Actually, I've already finalized the seating chart with the planner. I lie. Very traditional. You're at the head table with me, James, Mom, and Dad. Mom's coming? May looks shocked. I invited her. Haven't heard back yet. Another lie. Our mother hasn't been in contact for 20 years, but I want to see May's reaction. Wow. She sits back. That would be intense. Does Dad know? Not yet. I thought I'd surprise him. May shakes her head. That's a terrible idea, Ava. You know how he gets about Mom. It could ruin the whole party. Some things need to be brought into the open, I say. Don't you think? The rest of brunch passes with May trying to convince me not to invite our mother, unnecessary since I never actually did, and me deflecting her increasingly desperate attempts to change the seating arrangements. By the time we part ways, there's a calculating look in her eyes that wasn't there before. Oh, good. Let her worry. Let her wonder if I know more than I'm letting on. As I'm walking to my car, my phone rings. It's James. Have you talked to May today? He asks without preamble. Just had brunch with her. Why? He hesitates. No reason. Just, what did you talk about? Girl stuff, her latest dating drama. Oh, and she really wants to change the seating arrangements for the engagement party. And what did you say? I told her no. I pause. Why do you care about the seating chart, James? I don't, he says too quickly. Just making conversation. Well, I should go. I have a meeting with the wedding planner this afternoon. Wait, he says. About last night. I've been thinking about what you said, and you're right. I should have been honest with you from the start. May did contact me yesterday, but it was about a surprise for you, for the engagement party. That's why we met at the hotel. She didn't want to risk running into anyone who might tell you. The lie is so smooth, so reasonable. If I didn't know better, I might believe it. What kind of surprise, I ask. I can't tell you that, he says, relief evident in his voice now that I'm engaging with his story. It would ruin it, but it's something special, I promise. Okay, I say, letting him think I'm convinced. I trust you. Thank you, baby. I love you so much. I'd never do anything to hurt you. The sincerity in his voice makes me want to scream. Instead, I say, I love you too, and hang up. They're coordinating their stories now, which means that they've been in contact since I confronted James last night. Probably panicking, scrambling to cover their tracks. Let them panic. I have the advantage of knowing exactly how their affair progressed in my previous life. Every meeting, every excuse, every lie. And most importantly, I know how it all came crashing down at the engagement party. Only this time, I'll be the one controlling the narrative. The weeks pass in a blur of careful observation and strategic planning. James and May grow bolder in my previous life, meeting regularly at the Oceanside Hotel. This time they're more cautious, but I catch them anyway, leaving work at suspicious times, textures that don't match their supposed locations, hushed phone calls that end abruptly when I enter the room. I play the role of oblivious fiancé perfectly, focusing on wedding plans and acting excited about our future. Occasionally, I drop hints that unnerve them, mentioning the Oceanside Hotel's new renovation, asking May about her supposed lunch dates with Daniel, commenting on James's new cologne, purchased by my sister, I later learned in my first life. Each time I watch their reactions, cataloging their tells. James rubs the back of his neck when he's lying. May plays with her hair and avoids eye contact. Today marks exactly 1 month before the engagement party. In my previous life, this was when the formal invitations went out, setting in motion the events that would lead to my public humiliation. I'm sitting in the wedding planner's office, finalizing the guest list when my phone rings. It's my father. Ava, he says, his tone unusually hesitant. Do you have time to stop by the house today? There's something I want to discuss with you. In my previous life, this conversation never happened. I'd been so absorbed in wedding preparations, so oblivious to what was happening around me, that I barely spoke to my father in the months leading up to the engagement party. I can come by after this meeting, I say, curious about the deviation from my memories. Good, see you then. Dad's house is quiet when I arrive. The housekeeper lets me in, informing me that he's in his study. I find him standing by the window, staring out at the manicured garden where May and I played as children. There's a glass of whiskey in his hand, though it's barely past noon. "You wanted to see me?" I ask. He turns, studying me with an intensity that makes me uncomfortable. "Sit down, Ava." I take a seat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk, and he sits across from me, setting his whiskey aside. "I've been thinking about our conversation," he says. "When you asked if I would stand by you if someone hurt you." My pulse quickens. "And I spoke with James yesterday. This is unexpected." "About what?" "The merger between Liu International and Chentech." He leans forward. "It's a cornerstone of our expansion strategy. Without it, we'd lose ground to competitors in the Asian market." "I know that," I say carefully. "It's one of the reasons you were so happy about our engagement." He nods, not denying the business motivations behind his approval of my relationship. "James expressed some concerns about your behavior lately. Said you've been acting erratically, accusing him of things. Changing wedding plans without consultation." Anger flares in my chest. So James went behind my back to my father, playing the concerned fiancé while painting me as unstable. "Did he mention what I accused him of?" I ask, keeping my voice neutral. Dad shifts uncomfortably. "He said you had some wild idea about him in May. And what did you think about that?" "I think it's ridiculous," he says firmly. "Your sister would never do that to you. Neither would James. He's a good man from a good family." The familiar refrain, "James is a good man from a good family," makes me want to laugh bitterly. In my father's world, pedigree and business connections outweigh character every time. "You didn't answer my original question," I point out. "If someone did hurt me, even if it was May or James, would you stand by me?" Dad sighs, suddenly looking older. "Ava, you've always been so much like your mother. Not just in looks, but in temperament. Always seeing slights where none exist. Creating drama where there should be peace." "That's not true," I protest, but he holds up a hand. "Let me finish. When your mother left, she told me I was too driven, too focused on success, that I'd neglected her emotional needs. Maybe she was right." He takes a sip of whiskey. "But what she did, leaving her children, was unforgivable. She chose her happiness over her responsibility." I've never heard him speak so openly about our mother's abandonment. In my previous life, it was a closed subject, mentioned only in passing. "What does this have to do with me?" "I'm trying to say that I see patterns," he says. "And I'm worried you might sabotage your own happiness like she did. This marriage to James is an excellent match. Don't throw it away on unfounded suspicions. The irony is almost too much to bear. My father thinks I'm like my mother, the one who betrayed our family, when in fact it's May and James who are the betrayers." "You still haven't answered my question," I say quietly. "If I needed you to stand by me, would you? Or would business concerns and May's tears sway you like they always have?" Dad's expression hardens. I love both my daughters equally. A non-answer if I've ever heard one. "I have to go," I say, standing. "Thank you for the insight." "Ava." He rises as well. "I want you to be happy. I want this wedding to proceed smoothly." "So do I say, though not for the reasons he thinks. As I'm about to leave, he stops me with a hand on my arm. "One more thing. May mentioned you might be inviting your mother to the engagement party." I turn to face him. "Does that worry you?" "It would be disruptive, inappropriate." Funny how some betrayals are deemed inappropriate to acknowledge, while others are swept under the rug entirely. I leave him looking confused, another seed planted. When the truth comes out at the engagement party, I want him to remember these conversations. I want him to question his automatic defense of May. When I return to my apartment, James is there, cooking dinner in his dress shirt and slacks, sleeves rolled up to expose his forearms. The perfect picture of the attentive fiancé. "Hey, beautiful," he says, crossing the kitchen to kiss me. "I thought I'd surprise you. Made your favorite. Salmon with that lemon dill sauce you love." In my previous life, these gestures fooled me completely. I thought his occasional romantic dinners and thoughtful gifts meant he was committed to our relationship, not compensating for his betrayal. "Smells delicious," I say, accepting his kiss while mentally noting the faint trace of unfamiliar perfume on his collar. What's the occasion? Do I need an occasion to spoil my fiancé? He hands me a glass of wine. Actually, I do have some news. Remember how you wanted to honeymoon in the Maldives, but I said I couldn't take that much time off work? I nod, waiting. Well, I've been working overtime with Harrison to make sure the Singapore project will be stable enough for me to step away for 3 full weeks after the wedding. He grins proudly. I booked the overwater bungalow you showed me in that magazine. The one with the glass floor where you can see fish swimming below. The reservation is real. I'd received the confirmation email earlier today. It's a clever move on James's part. What cheating fiancé books an elaborate honeymoon? It's the perfect cover for his guilt. That's amazing, I say, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. Thank you, James. That's so thoughtful. He beams, obviously pleased by my reaction. I've been working on another surprise, too, for the engagement party. Oh? I take a casual sip of wine. What kind of surprise? Can't tell you that, he says, tapping my nose playfully. But I've been coordinating with May. I think you're going to love it. And there it is. Another excuse for their clandestine meetings and whispered conversations. A surprise for me, supposedly. Speaking of May, I say, she keeps pushing to change the seating arrangements for the party. Any idea why she's so persistent about that? James busies himself with a salmon, avoiding my eyes. No clue. You know your sister. Always got some creative vision in mind. I move closer, watching him plate our dinner. My father mentioned you two had a conversation recently. His hands pause momentarily before continuing their task. Yeah, just a quick check-in about some merger details. He said you told him I've been acting erratically. James sets the plates down and turns to me, his expression a perfect blend of concern and confusion. That's not exactly what I said. I mentioned I was worried about you, that you seemed stressed and were making accusations that weren't like you. Going behind my back to my father instead of talking to me directly isn't exactly trustworthy behavior, James. I wasn't going behind your back, he protests. I was genuinely concerned, and your dad's known you your whole life. I thought he might have insight into how to help you. Help me, I repeat flatly, because I'm the one with the problem. That's not what I meant. He runs a hand through his hair, the tell I've come to recognize. Look, can we just enjoy this dinner I made? I hate fighting with you, Ava. I let the tension stretch between us, watching him squirm. In my previous life, I'd never pushed back against his manipulations, always backing down to keep the peace. Fine, I say finally, but no more conversations with my father about me. If you're concerned, talk to me directly. Deal. Relief floods his face. Now sit before the food gets cold. Over dinner, James chatters about work, his parents, our wedding plans, all the safe topics that don't touch on his betrayal. I let him talk, nodding and smiling at appropriate intervals while my mind works on the next phase of my plan. The engagement party is now 1 month away. In my previous life, it was May who secretly arranged for the name cards to be available for guests to select as they entered, creating the perfect opportunity for her to swap our cards and ensure she'd be seated next to James during the toast. Since I've blocked that approach, I need a new way to expose their affair. I've been thinking, I say during a lull in conversation. For the engagement party, what if we did a photo display? Old pictures of us growing up, then shots of us together, leading up to the proposal. That sounds nice, James says cautiously. I could ask May to help gather photos. She's always been the sentimental one, saving everything from our childhood. I tap my wine glass thoughtfully. Plus, she has all those recent photos from when we all went to the cabin last summer. James chokes slightly on his wine. Those aren't very flattering shots. I was sunburned, remember? I hide a smile. The cabin trip was where I'd first noticed something off between them. Lingering glances, inside jokes, May suddenly finding reasons to be wherever James was. In my previous life, I'd dismissed it as my imagination. This time, I know better. I think they capture a special time, I say innocently. All of us together as a family. May's become so important to you too, hasn't she? Almost like the sister you never had. James's smile is strained. Sure, she's great. I'm so glad you two get along. Some men don't bond with their fiance's family. Lucky me, he murmurs, reaching for the wine bottle. I let the subject drop, but the seed is planted. James will warn May about the photo display, giving her another reason to contact him. Another secret meeting I can document. Later that night, after James falls asleep, I slip out of bed and retrieve his phone from the nightstand. In my previous life, I never snooped, respecting his privacy even as he betrayed mine. This time, I have no such compunctions. His phone is locked, but I know the passcode. His mother's birthday, how original. I scroll through his messages until I find the thread with May. Most of it has been deleted, but there's a recent exchange. May, we need to talk. She's getting suspicious. James, not now. We'll call tomorrow. May, make it somewhere private. She's watching. I screenshot the conversation, sending it to my own phone before deleting the evidence of my snooping. Then I replace his phone and slip back into bed satisfied. They know I'm watching. Good. Let them feel the noose tightening. The final week before the engagement party arrives with a flurry of activity. The venue is confirmed, the caterer is finalized, and the seating chart has been meticulously designed by me, not the wedding planner. This is too important to delegate. In my previous life, the seating arrangement was an afterthought, something I happily let May handle while I focused on other details. Her suggestion to have guests pick up name cards at the entrance seemed fun and casual at the time, a way to break up the stuffiness of a formal event. I didn't realize it was a deliberate plan to ensure she could swap our cards, placing herself next to James at the moment when all eyes would be on our table. This time, I've created a fixed seating plan with assigned tables. The head table will seat James and me in the center, with his parents to his right and my father and May to my left. However, the name cards I've ordered tell a different story, one that will be revealed only when guests find their seats. My phone rings as I'm reviewing the final guest list. May's name flashes on the screen. "Hey, sis," she says, her voice overly bright. "I was thinking of stopping by later to help with any last-minute party prep. Maybe we could go over the seating chart together?" Her persistence about the seating arrangements would be amusing if it weren't so manipulative. "No need," I say cheerfully. "Everything's finalized. The planner has the chart and the name cards are already printed and ready for the venue." "Oh," she sounds disappointed. "Are you sure I can't help with anything? I feel like I've barely been involved in planning your big day." That's rich, considering how involved she's been with my fiancé. "Actually," I say, suddenly inspired, "there is something you could help with. I need someone to pick up my dress from the final fitting tomorrow. I have a meeting I can't reschedule." "Your engagement party dress? Of course, I'd be happy to." "Great. The appointment is at Eloise's boutique at 2 p.m. They'll need to see ID since you're picking up for me." "No problem. Do you want me to bring it to your place after?" "Yes, please. Let's say around 7. James will be at his parents' for dinner, so we can have sister time." Perfect. It's been too long since we had a proper girls' night. After hanging up, I immediately call Eloise's boutique and reschedule my fitting for 10 a.m. By the time May arrives tomorrow, my dress will be long gone, and I'll be waiting to confront her with what I've learned over the past months. In my previous life, I never gave May the opportunity to explain herself before the public humiliation at the engagement party. Part of me wonders if there's more to the story, if perhaps she felt pressured by James, or if their affair grew from something I missed in our complicated family dynamic. Not that it would excuse their betrayal, but this time I want to understand the why before the final act plays out. The next evening, I sit in my darkened living room, waiting for my sister. The engagement party dress hangs on my closet door. Ivory silk with delicate beading, elegant and understated. Just like I've always been. When the doorbell rings at precisely 7:03 p.m., I take a deep breath before answering. May stands in the hallway, confusion on her face. "The boutique said you'd already picked up your dress." "Come in, May." I step aside, ushering her into the apartment. She enters cautiously, sensing the shift in atmosphere. "What's going on, Ava?" "I thought we could talk." I close the door behind her. "About you and James." Her expression flickers between emotions, surprise, guilt, defiance, before settling on innocent confusion. "What about me and James?" Please don't insult me by continuing to lie. I move to the kitchen counter where my laptop sits open. I know about the affair. I have proof. Affair? Ava, that's insane. James and I barely even. I turn the laptop to face her, revealing a slideshow of photos. James and May entering the Oceanside Hotel, their heads bent close together at a restaurant, his hand on her lower back, guiding her into his car, her leaving his office building at odd hours. May's face drains of color. You've been spying on us? I prefer to think of it as due diligence. I advance to the next slide, screenshots of text messages between them that I've collected over the weeks. Do you want to keep lying, or can we have an honest conversation for once? She sinks onto a bar stool, shoulders slumping in defeat. How long have you known? Since the beginning, February 12th. The first time you met him for lunch and ended up at the Oceanside Hotel for hours. May looks genuinely shocked, but you never said anything. You've been acting normal, planning the wedding, the engagement party. I wanted to understand why, I say, closing the laptop. Why my sister and my fiancé would betray me like this. So I watched and waited. Tears fill her eyes. It's not what you think. Then what is it, May? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like my sister sleeping with my fiancé behind my back for months. It started as just talking, she says, wiping at her eyes. After that dinner at Dad's when you and James seemed so tense. He called me, wanting to know if you'd said anything about what was bothering you. One conversation led to another, and suddenly we were meeting for lunch, and then you were meeting at hotels. I finish for her. How convenient that your concern for my relationship led you straight into my fiancé's bed. It wasn't like that, she protests. There were real feelings involved. It wasn't just some cheap affair. Her words hit me like a physical blow. In my previous life, I'd assumed their affair was purely physical. A betrayal of the worst kind, but somehow less painful than hearing my sister claim genuine emotions were involved. Real feelings, I repeat, voice hollow. You expect me to believe you fell in love with my fiancé? May stands and begins pacing, agitated. I don't expect you to understand. But yes, there are real feelings between us. We tried to fight it, Ava. We really did. But sometimes the heart wants what it wants. Oh, please, I scoff. Spare me the romance novel justifications. You're sleeping with my fiancé. There's no noble way to spin that. I know it's wrong, she says, tears streaming freely now. I hate myself for hurting you. But what James and I have is real. He was going to tell you after the engagement party. We both were. I laugh bitterly. How considerate. Let Dad's company merge with the Laios first, then break my heart. Very strategic. It's not about business, she insists. James and you are nothing but liars and cheats. I cut in, surprising myself with the venom in my voice. And now you have a choice to make. She looks at me warily. What do you mean? The engagement party is in 3 days. We can handle this one of two ways. I fold my arms across my chest. Option 1. You end things with James immediately, and neither of you ever breathes a word of this to anyone. I'll proceed with the wedding, you'll play your role as supportive sister, and we'll all pretend this never happened. You'd still marry him? Even knowing about us? May looks incredulous. Option 2, I continue, ignoring her question. I expose your affair at the engagement party in front of everyone. Dad, James's parents, all their business associates, our entire social circle. Your reputation will be in tatters. The merger will fall apart. Dad's expansion plans will collapse, and James's parents will disown him faster than you can say family disgrace. May's eyes widen. You wouldn't. Wouldn't I? You've spent our entire lives underestimating me, May. Both of you have. Ava, please. She reaches for my hand, but I step back. We can work this out. Maybe James and I could move away after everything settles down. You wouldn't have to see us together. How generous, I say sarcastically. My sister and ex-fiancé riding off into the sunset together after destroying my life. I don't want to hurt you any more than I already have, she says, voice cracking. Tell me what you want, and I'll do it. I study her tear-stained face, searching for genuine remorse. All I see is fear. Fear of exposure, of consequences, of losing the perfect life she's trying to steal from me. I want you to attend the engagement party, I say finally. Smile, give a toast, play the loving sister, and when you arrive, I want you to take your assigned seat without complaint. That's it? She looks confused. That's it, for now. I move to the door, opening it. We'll see if you can follow even these simple instructions without betraying me again. May hesitates, clearly expecting more of a confrontation. Ava, I really am sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. And yet you made it happen, day after day for months. Funny how that works. She leaves with backward glances, clearly unsettled by my calm demeanor. She expected hysterics, maybe violence. The dramatic showdown between wronged woman and cheating sister. She doesn't understand that my revenge will be far more measured, far more devastating than a simple confrontation. The moment the door closes behind her, I text James. May just left. She says there's something you need to tell me. His response comes seconds later. What did she say? Enough, I reply. We need to talk, now. Less than 20 minutes later, James bursts into the apartment, face flushed. Ava, whatever May told you, it's not... Stop. I hold up a hand. I know everything. The affair started February 12th. You've been meeting at the Oceanside Hotel, room 505. I have photos, texts, hotel receipts. He freezes, mouth open in shock. How did you... Does it matter? The point is, I know. I cross my arms. So what happens now? Unlike May, James doesn't immediately break down. He's calculating, I can see it in his eyes. Weighing options, considering angles, looking for a way out that preserves his interests. I love you, Ava, he says finally. What happened with May? It was a mistake. A terrible, unforgivable mistake that I would do anything to take back. Interesting. I lean against the kitchen counter. That's not what May says. She thinks you two are in love. Says you were planning to tell me after the engagement party. His expression shifts. She's confused. I never said. One of you is lying, I interrupt. Again, at this point, I don't care which one. What do you want, Ava? He asks, his voice low. Do you want me to end things with her? Because I will, right now. It's you I want to be with. It's almost impressive, his ability to switch loyalties so seamlessly. I wonder if he even knows who he really wants, or if he's simply chasing the path of least resistance to his family's business goals. What I want, I say carefully, is for the engagement party to proceed as planned. Everything exactly as arranged. After that, we'll see. He looks wary. You still want to have the party, even knowing about everything? The invitations are sent. The venue is booked. Your parents have invited half of Manhattan's elite. My father has associates flying in from overseas. I shrug. The show must go on. Relief washes over his face. He thinks I'm choosing option one from the choices I gave May, proceeding with our relationship despite the betrayal. Perhaps he even believes he can manipulate me into forgiveness over time. I'll make this up to you, he promises, moving toward me with outstretched arms. I'll spend the rest of our lives making you happy, I swear. I step back, avoiding his embrace. There's just one condition. When the seating arrangement is revealed at the party, you take your assigned seat without question. Of course, he agrees immediately. Whatever you want. Good. I walk to the door, opening it. Now get out. I need to finish some details for the party. He hesitates. You're not going to tell my parents, are you? Or yours? I haven't decided yet, I say truthfully. I guess you'll find out at the party. After he leaves, I sink onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. Their reactions were predictable. May, emotional and defensive, James, calculating and self-serving. Neither truly remorseful for the pain they caused, only sorry they got caught. In my previous life, I never had the chance to confront them before everything exploded publicly. I thought seeing their guilt might bring me some satisfaction, some closure. Instead, I feel hollow. The engagement party is 3 days away. The seating chart is finalized, the name cards ordered. Everything is in motion for my carefully orchestrated revelation. So why do I feel no triumph? No anticipation of justice about to be served? Perhaps because revenge, however deserved, can't heal the wound of betrayal. It can only cauterize it, leaving a scar that will always remind me of what was lost. But there's no turning back now. The stage is set, the actors primed. All that remains is the final act. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom gleams with understated elegance. Crystal chandeliers, white roses, champagne flowing from fountains shaped like swans. In my previous life, I'd spent months planning every detail of this engagement party, determined to create the perfect backdrop for celebrating our love. Now I see it for what it really is, an elaborate stage for the finale of a relationship built on lies. I stand in the bridal suite, putting the finishing touches on my appearance. The ivory silk dress hugs my figure, and my hair is swept into an elegant updo. I look exactly as I should, the radiant bride-to-be excited for her future. No one would guess that beneath this polished exterior lies a woman preparing to burn her life to the ground. There's a soft knock at the door. Ava? It's me. My father enters without waiting for a response, handsome in his tailored tuxedo. He pauses when he sees me, something like genuine emotion crossing his face. You look beautiful, just like your mother on our engagement night. The comparison that once would have stung now barely registers. I have bigger concerns than my resemblance to the woman who abandoned us. Thank you, Dad. He approaches, awkwardly patting my shoulder. Physical affection has never been his strong suit. The ballroom looks magnificent. You've done an excellent job with the planning. I had help, I say, adjusting my earrings. May was very, involved. His expression clouds slightly. About your sister, she seemed upset when I saw her earlier. Is everything all right between you two? Why don't you ask her? I turn to face him fully. Or are you still taking her side automatically? Ava, he sighs. This is supposed to be a happy occasion. Let's not revisit old grievances. Old grievances, I repeat. Is that what you call them? Before he can respond, the door opens again and May enters. She's wearing a red dress that hugs her curves. Inappropriate for a sister of the bride, but perfectly in character for a woman trying to upstage her. Oh, she says, faltering when she sees our father. I didn't realize you were in here. I was just telling Ava how beautiful she looks, Dad says, clearly relieved by the interruption. You both do. I'm a lucky man to have such stunning daughters. May smiles weakly, avoiding my gaze. Thanks, Dad. I should greet some of the guests, he says, moving toward the door. The Laus have just arrived with James. We'll begin the reception line in 15 minutes. After he leaves, an uncomfortable silence falls between May and me. She fidgets with her clutch while I calmly apply another coat of lipstick. So you're really going through with this, she says finally. The engagement, the wedding, all of it. Even knowing about James and me. I told you what I expected, I say, placing the lipstick back in my purse. Is there a problem? She shakes her head, looking confused and wary. No, I thought you might change your mind about exposing us. The night is young. I smile thinly. We should join the reception line. Dad will be waiting. As we walk toward the ballroom, May grabs my arm. Ava, please. Whatever you're planning, think about what it will do to Dad, to the family. Funny how you're suddenly concerned about the family, I say, pulling my arm free. You should have thought about that before sleeping with my fiancé. The reception line forms at the entrance to the ballroom. James and his parents, then me, then my father and May. As guests arrive, they offer congratulations, compliments, and the occasional envelope containing a check. James stands beside me, the perfect picture of an adoring fiancé. His hand rests on the small of my back, his smile never falters, and he introduces me as my beautiful bride-to-be to anyone who doesn't already know me. Only I feel the tension in his touch, see the anxiety lurking behind his eyes. He's watching me, waiting for the trap to spring, uncertain of what I have planned. When the last guest has been greeted, we move into the ballroom for the cocktail hour. James leans close, his breath warm against my ear. You look incredible tonight, he murmurs, playing his role flawlessly. Have I told you how much I love you? Several times, I say, sipping champagne. Almost as if you're trying to convince yourself. His smile tightens. Ava, please, I meant what I said. I choose you. It's always been you. Always? I raise an eyebrow. Even at the Oceanside Hotel? Before he can respond, William Liu approaches, clapping his son on the shoulder. There's the happy couple. Ava, you've outdone yourself with the arrangements. Margaret can't stop raving about the floral displays. Thank you, William, I say, accepting his kiss on the cheek. I wanted everything to be perfect for our special night. Well, you've succeeded, he beams at us. Now, when do we sit for dinner? I hear you've prepared some sort of unique seating arrangement. James tenses beside me. Unique. Just a little surprise, I say, smiling sweetly. You'll see when it's time. As William moves away to greet another guest, James grips my elbow. What have you done with the seating chart? Nothing dramatic, I assure him. Just a small adjustment to ensure everyone is exactly where they should be. His face pales, but before he can press further, the event coordinator announces that dinner will be served shortly, and guests should begin finding their tables. The ballroom has been transformed from cocktail hour to formal dinner. Round tables surrounding a slightly elevated head table where the engagement couple and immediate family will sit. At each place setting is a name card, face down, waiting to be turned over. In my previous life, May had orchestrated a confusing system where guests picked up cards at the entrance and seated themselves. The resulting chaos allowed her to swap our cards without anyone noticing, placing herself beside James for the champagne toast and photographs. This time, I've simplified things. The cards are already at each place setting. All anyone has to do is find their seat and turn over their card. James leads me to the head table, his hand trembling slightly against my back. May follows, her expression a mixture of dread and resignation. My father and the Laus complete our party, all smiles and ceremony as we take our places. Do we turn over the cards now? Margaret Liu asks, eyeing the pristine white card at her place setting. Let's wait until everyone is seated, I suggest. I want it to be a moment we all share. The minutes stretch as guests find their tables, exclaiming over the elegant centerpieces and swapping pleasantries. James shifts nervously beside me while May keeps glancing between us, clearly expecting some kind of public confrontation. Finally, when all guests are seated, I stand and tap my glass gently with a spoon. The room falls silent, all eyes turning toward the head table. Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate our engagement, I begin, my voice steady. Before we begin dinner, I'd like everyone to discover where they'll be sitting by turning over their name cards. James and I have put special thought into these arrangements. As one, the guests flip their cards. Confusion immediately ripples through the room as people look at names that don't match expectations. At the head table, the confusion is even more pronounced. James stares down at a card that reads, Cheater, in elegant calligraphy. May's card says the same. My father's card reads, Enabler. The Laos find blind written on theirs. My own card, which I turn over with deliberate slowness, simply says, Reborn. What is the meaning of this? William Liu demands, his face flushing with anger. I remain standing, perfectly calm as the murmurs spread through the ballroom. I thought we should all be seated according to our true selves tonight. No more pretending, no more lies. Ava! James hisses, grabbing my wrist. What are you doing? I gently extract myself from his grip. I'm telling the truth, James. Something you and my sister seem incapable of doing. What truth? Margaret asks, looking bewildered. Oh, what's going on? Should I tell them, or would you prefer to? I ask, looking between James and May. About the Oceanside Hotel, room 505. About the affair that's been going on behind my back for months. About how you plan to wait until after the engagement party to tell me so the business merger wouldn't be affected? The room falls deathly silent. James has gone pale, while May seems frozen in place, tears streaming down her face. This is outrageous, William sputters. James would never, I have proof, I cut in. Photos, texts, hotel receipts. Your son and my sister have been sleeping together since February. They've been lying to my face while planning their future together. My father stands abruptly. Ava, this is not the time or place. When is the time, Dad? After the wedding? After the merger? When is it convenient for everyone to acknowledge that I'm being betrayed by the people who should love me most? The silence that follows is deafening. Guests shift uncomfortably in their seats, unsure whether to leave or stay for the unfolding drama. James finally speaks, his voice barely audible. Ava, please, we can discuss this privately. Like you've been privately discussing our relationship with May? I laugh bitterly. No, I think we've had enough secrets. I turn to address the stunned guests. I apologize for the unconventional entertainment this evening. The engagement is off, obviously. Please enjoy the dinner. It's already paid for. Consider it a parting gift from the woman who is almost Mrs. James Liu. As I move to leave the head table, May grabs my arm. Ava, wait, I'm so sorry. We never meant to hurt you. I look at my sister, really look at her. And for the first time, I see not just the beautiful, spoiled girl who always got what she wanted, but a woman caught in her own web of poor choices. I know, I say softly. That's what makes it worse. I turn to my father next. You asked me once if I was going to sabotage my own happiness like Mom did. But you never considered that maybe she left because she couldn't bear living a lie anymore. Maybe some happiness isn't worth the price. Finally, I face James and his parents. The merger contract has a morality clause. Section 7, paragraph 3. You might want to review it before Monday's board meeting. With that, I walk out of the ballroom, head high, the weight of my previous life lifting with each step. Behind me, chaos erupts. Raised voices, accusations, the sound of a glass shattering. None of it matters anymore. I've said my piece. I've exposed the truth. What happens next is no longer my concern. The cafe on the corner of 5th and Madison has the best view of the fall foliage in Central Park. I sit at an outdoor table watching yellow leaves spiral down onto the paths where joggers and dog walkers enjoy the crisp autumn air. Mind if I join you? I look up to find my father standing beside the table, briefcase in hand, looking older than I remember. Please, I gesture to the empty chair across from me. He sits, ordering coffee when the waiter appears. We sit in silence until his drink arrives, both of us watching the park rather than facing each other directly. The merger fell through, he says finally. After the sex incident at the engagement party, the Laus pulled out. William cited the morality clause as you predicted he would. I'm sorry about the business implications, I say, and I mean it. That was never my target. Dad sighs heavily. I know. You were right about a lot of things, Ava, including how I've treated you and May over the years. This is unexpected. In the months since the engagement party, I've had minimal contact with my family. I moved to a new apartment, started consulting work instead of returning to my corporate job, created a life that's entirely my own. How is May? I ask, surprising myself with the question. Struggling, he admits. She and James continued seeing each other for a while after everything fell apart, but it didn't last. Turns out, betrayal isn't a solid foundation for a relationship. I feel a pang of something, not quite sympathy, but not satisfaction either. And you? How are you doing? I've been thinking a lot about your mother lately. He stares into his coffee. About why she left. About what you said at the party, that maybe she couldn't live with a lie anymore. Have you contacted her? He shakes his head. No, but I found out she's living in Seattle now. Remarried, has 2 teenage stepchildren. Are you going to reach out? I don't know. He looks up at me, his eyes tired. Would you want me to? I consider this. In my previous life, my mother was a taboo subject, a wound we never discussed. Now I find myself curious about the woman who made the difficult choice to walk away from her family. I think that's up to you, I say finally, but I wouldn't be opposed to knowing how she is. Dad nods, then reaches into his briefcase. I brought you something. May asked me to give it to you. He hands me an envelope. Inside is a handwritten letter and a key. She's moved to San Francisco, he explains. Got a job with a startup there. The key is to her old apartment. She says there's a box of your childhood things she saved that you might want. I tuck the envelope into my purse. Thank you for bringing this. Ava, he hesitates. What you did at the engagement party, it was brutal, public, humiliating for everyone involved. Yes, I acknowledge, it was. But, he continues, it was also brave and honest. 2 qualities I've always admired in you but rarely acknowledged. Tears prick at the corners of my eyes, unexpected and unwelcome. Thank you for saying that. Do you think you could ever forgive her or me? He asks. I don't know, I answer truthfully. Not yet, maybe someday. We sit in more comfortable silence, finishing our coffees and watching the park. When it's time to leave, he stands awkwardly, clearly unsure how to end our meeting. Would it be all right if I called you sometime? He asks, just to check in. I'd like that, I say, surprising myself again. As I watch him walk away, I feel no triumph, no vindication, just a quiet peace that wasn't possible in my previous life, when I was too afraid of losing people's approval to stand up for myself. Later that evening, I open May's letter. Her handwriting is as elegant as ever. Ava, I've written this letter 100 times in my head and nothing seems adequate. I'm sorry doesn't begin to cover the pain I've caused you. There's no excuse for what I did, none. I could tell you that I've always lived in your shadow, always felt second best except to Dad. I could say that James made me feel special in a way no one else ever had. I could blame it on weakness or selfishness or some deep-seated need to take what was yours. But the truth is simpler and harder. I made a series of terrible choices. I betrayed my sister, the one person who has always been there for me. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I understand now what I couldn't see then. That you were always the strongest one of us all. You weren't afraid to burn everything down when it was built on lies. I admire that more than I can say. I'm starting over in San Francisco. New job, new friends, new life. It's what you did after the party, isn't it? Created a rebirth for yourself? If you ever want to talk or yell or just sit in silence together someday, I'll be here. Until then, I wish you the happiness you deserve. The real kind, built on truth. Love always, May. I fold the letter carefully and place it back in the envelope. The anger that once burned so hot has cooled, leaving behind something more complex, a mixture of sadness for what was lost and hope for what might yet be found. In my previous life, I died from shame and betrayal, unable to face the ruins of my carefully constructed future. In this life, I chose to destroy that future myself, rather than live a lie. And here, in the ashes, I've discovered something unexpected. The freedom to build something new, something real, a life that's truly mine. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive May or my father. I don't know if I'll reach out to my mother or find love again with someone worthy of trust. Those are questions for tomorrow. Tonight, I open my window to the city lights, breathing in the cool autumn air, and feel truly alive for the first time in both my lives. This isn't a story about revenge after all, it's about rebirth. And my second life is just beginning.